anything about this, and shame on you, because our Jewish community need looking after, and as Mayor of London you are not doing that.
Where he got £1 billion every year under a Conservative government, he got £100 million this year under a Labour government. That's why a Labour councillor here in Haringey is already left.
No, sorry, no.
Chair, I'll come first to the question around violence against women and girls, and I think every woman knows that feeling of your familiar walk home where you look for those safe spots that you know you'll see. That's the stations that might be still open and lit up, the busy high streets, which unfortunately we might come into the economy section where the nightlife's been hammered, so those are no longer. And the other safe spot that you normally see is a police station. And that is something, again, that the Mayor is threatening us with losing. And so to come onto that police station counter, here's the really important bit. Thank you, Charlene, and thank you for the questions and everybody coming out this evening. I'm Assembly Member Best. I'm the Deputy Leader of the Conservative Group, and I wanted to turn first to the gentleman with the temporary accommodation problem. That sounds absolutely awful, and I know the Assembly is united in believing that we need more of a resident say in schemes like this, and I do think the Mayor will take that forward. That is absolutely unacceptable, and I hope that's solved for you. Turning to the lady who raised the leasehold the service charges on connected to leaseholds. At last week's budget meeting, the Conservatives put forward an amendment to have a leasehold advice centre, and some good news as well, that was cross-party supported by the entire Assembly. And I do hope the Mayor takes that on board and moves forward with that idea, because that is the sort of advice and support that leaseholders need, especially in the interim of waiting for legislative changes that are long overdue on that. And then just to turn to both questions, I think, which really hit on the affordability crisis of homes in London. The previous government gave the Mayor £9 billion towards affordable housing. In his 2021 to 2026 programme, there's only 12% of those homes that have been started. And it was funny to hear him, he still does this, he double counts his figures with Boris's when he talks about these record numbers. He's talking about the previous Mayor's figures when he tries to talk about how he's trying to excuse his failure around this. The way we are on track at the moment for the 21-26 house building programme will finish by 2060. Londoners cannot wait that long for affordable homes. And then if you look at what we've seen, we've talked tonight about the Mayor saying he'd have a Labour government with the wind in his sails. Well, we've already talked about transport, where you see your fares rising because a Labour government told him to do so. We've talked about policing, where you're losing 400 officers.
Assembly Member
because
Best,
the government,
we're going to keep
the
to
point
the
is
subject.
The point's getting there. The 400 police officers that have been lost because of the Labour government now coming on to affordable housing, where he got £1 billion every year under a Conservative government. He got £100 million this year under a Labour government. That's why a Labour councillor here in Haringey is already left.
No, sorry, no. Assembly Member Best, you were doing really well, and then you moved on to rhetoric.
Thank you. You won't
that
hear
is
from me
not
again.
allowed on this stage at the moment, and I will continue to tell people off if they're not able to stick by those rules. Assembly Member Moema.
Thank you, Charlene, and thank you all for coming this evening. My name is Sam Moema, and I'm really proud to represent Hackney, Islington and Waltham Forest at City Hall, and I am the Labour Group spokesperson for housing and currently the chair of the Housing Committee. So, I mean, before I move on to the substantive question, I just want to say briefly that I'm not even sure that I would need both hands to count how many homes Boris Johnson started before he left office as the Mayor. But onto the specific points that people who've attended this evening raised in your questions. We have a really important job to do as Assembly members, and both the Mayor and the Deputy Mayor know that we will hold them to account and we will raise difficult topics with them, including things like when homes are funded by the Affordable Homes Programme. The issues that you have raised this evening around service charges and leaseholders is absolutely central. Constituencies like mine have a perfect storm of being now very, very high value land, and actually people's wages haven't kept up with the cost of housing. That's the fundamental problem that we have. So you'll be pleased to know that the Assembly's Housing Committee is in the process of completing some work around leasehold and the impacts of that particular tenure for Londoners. Over a third of the leasehold homes in this country, in England, are in London, and so clearly action needs to be taken in order to make sure that people's homes are stable, that their service charges reflect a reality of what they're actually receiving, and that there is some redress through the courts or through support from the Mayor, additional support to what's already being provided. And my colleague Emma here is right, that we as the Labour Group did support that measure, because we believe that even though we do have different political colours, we all face the same problems representing Londoners. Very briefly, Charlene, if that's okay.
Is it definitely an answer to a question?
Yes, to this gentleman
okay,
here.
that's great.
I promise it is an answer. To this gentleman here about the crisis that London faces, and not just your employees, but you as a potential employer, because what we see potentially is London being hollowed out. And so what we know that in Haringey, but in other places, there are fewer and fewer children, and so schools are being affected. That is a direct consequence of what you're seeing with your employees not being able to afford to stay here and start families. And so one of the things that I'm really pleased to see the Mayor doing is to have made that commitment to deliver 40,000 new social homes to alleviate pressure on councils like Haringey, so that people can move into the private rented sector, have some stability and start those families. And I know here in this borough, they've got a commitment of building 3,000 homes by 2031. That's going to go a really long way to really making sure that people can stay here, put down roots, put their children into the local schools, and keep this amazing borough and this amazing city going.
Okay, thank you, Assembly Member Moema. Okay, I'm going to take a question online. Why is accessible housing not a priority in your new London growth plan? How are you going to make sure deaf and disabled Londoners are meaningfully involved in the development of the new London plan and the Mayor's housing strategy? Too many disabled people are trapped in unsuitable homes that they cannot afford. Mr. Mayor.
So the London growth plan isn't the spatial plan for housing, that's the London plan, and we're working on a new London plan. And so just to reassure the online questioner, that will be dealt with in the London plan. The London growth plan is about how over the next 10 years we increase the size of our economy to the tune of £100 billion, which will mean that the average Londoner is £11,000 better off, and the Treasury gets back more money to invest in public services. The question in relation to involving deaf and disabled Londoners, my Deputy Mayor for Communities and Social Justice is here. We're doing a huge amount of work to involve those. By the way, there is also an underserved community, the phrase you used in the back row. Deaf and disabled Londoners are underserved, and we're going to make sure they're better served and include them in the design and concept stage. And so Debbie's doing lots of work to go out and about to meet these communities, but also we've set up a group in City Hall to make sure in all the policies we do, from transport to housing to environment, we involve deaf and disabled Londoners. It's crucial.
Okay, thank you very much. Assembly Member Garbett, you had raised your hand.
I just wanted to quickly come in on estate regeneration and the story that you were saying about your experience, because currently there's 133 estates across London up for demolition, and I want to make sure that the voices of those residents are really heard in those plans, and that it's not just a kind of developer progress that's the priority, that is absolutely the experience of those residents, because across the city I'm hearing from residents who are left in damp and mouldy homes while they're waiting for them to be kind of demolished and changed. They're left in kind of limbo. They said they're being left to rot. And I just think your story is really powerful when you not